Hello and welcome to episode number 72 of the 214 Sports Show. This episode is going to be dedicated to Ed Too Tall Jones from the 1970s and 1980s Dallas Cowboys teams, defensive end, Cowboys legend, won a Super Bowl. But that is going to be what episode 72 is going to be dedicated to. I hope you guys are having a great week. I'm TJ Krilowicz. I'm joined alongside Joe Duffey. Joe, how are you doing? I know that you just have recently entered the transfer portal and have now moved to a new place.
Yeah, TJ, I appreciate the shout out. Just moved on to grad school in the Northeast, but yeah, glad to be back on the podcast. Got some great stuff to talk about again, and glad to see more winning specifically for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah. The wins are they're coming and then they stop all of a sudden. But yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about this episode. Definitely about the Texas Rangers. We'll talk a little bit about the Dallas Mavericks as the NBA draft nears. Maybe a little bit about the Dallas Stars. We'll see how we feel at the end of the episode if we want to talk a little bit about them. But anyways, yeah, starting off this episode on today's date, June 19th, 2016, 9 years ago, the Texas Rangers, they finished their sweep against the St. Louis Cardinals, beating them 5-4 in the final game of the series. With a late rally, Jurickson Profar, he hit a 2 RBI single in the top of the eighth as a pinch hitter, give the Rangers the lead and eventually the win. The Rangers would move to 45-25 on the season. They will win the AL West later on and then get swept by the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALDS.
I'll never forgive you, Toronto. Those were some hard series to get over back in 2015 and 2016. But yeah, I don't really remember this series too much in particular. If you look at like a season highlight video from this season, I may remember it, but not too much about this specific game right here, but Jurickson Profar, a guy who we thought was so promising in the Rangers organization. It's a shame he couldn't really figure it out here, and we've seen him flourish in other parts of the league with the Rockies and the Padres, but couldn't really figure it out in Arlington, which sucks. So I think that's a pretty cool memory for him, beating the Cardinals, trying to put away those demons from 2011, and then ultimately winning the championship in 2023, beating the Cardinals in a series that year as well, and then just now beating the Cardinals again. So it's been a lot of dominance against St. Louis as of the past decade, to be honest, since that defeat in 2011.
No, don't talk about it. Talk about it. Hey, but yeah, I mean, that was I actually do remember this. I vaguely remember like seeing like an Elvis Andrews post of him sweeping up a Cardinal um after this series happened. So yeah, I mean, it was a very good year. Jurickson Profar was actually batting 349 at the end of this game.
What?
Um at the time.
Yeah, I
At
was
the
about to
time.
say, surely that did not stay. No way that did.
But the Texas Rangers going to 2025, they are now sitting below 500, 36-37. Of course, that is not factual. Whenever this episode will be released, we do not know the result of the Wednesday night game against the Texas Rangers and Kansas City Royals, but we do know the past results of those games from Tuesday and before. So before we get into anything, I think that one of the best moments of this week for the Rangers was the game on Sunday against the White Sox. And while you look at the final score of that game being 2-1, it doesn't really ring a lot of, hey, this is a good game for the Rangers or a growth moment. But it really did for one particular person, which was Kumar Rocker, who has been struggling. We've been saying throughout this podcast, and of course, it's not just us, it's basically everyone, but Rocker's been rocked this entire season. Been really, really uh, destroyed by just anything, hasn't been able to find his control or find his stuff, and has just been getting destroyed. But of course, it's the White Sox. They're 7-31 on the road. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the league. But you still got to find those 5 innings where he didn't allow a single run. I mean, you got to have hope for that, right? You got to feel good for the guy and you got to feel a little bit better about him going on forward with the season, right?
I love it. I love what I was seeing. I know it was the White Sox. I know people may be saying, this team thinks they're back because they beat up on one of the worst teams in the AL in the entire major leagues. But you got to get wins where you can get them. And this was an important series for this team to bounce back because 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago now, when this team was getting smacked around by Chicago in the South Side, that was what I felt was one of the lowest points of the season. You had to bounce back in the series, and Kumar Rocker was a big benefit for the Rangers to end up sweeping this team. So it was a pitcher's duel, which we saw pretty much the entire series. You could argue one of them maybe not, but 2-1 victory that he held them down for 5 innings and punched out six, only walked one. That's what you want to see. Now, for the future, I'm hoping he and Leiter can figure it out at the same time. Leiter has been more consistent for the season, but he got a little bit bounced around in game one against Kansas City, which kind of sucked to see. A Kansas City team that was struggling entering into that home stretch game one just in 2 nights ago as the series is recorded.
Hmm.
But it sucks that these two young guys, both Vandy boys, can't figure it out at the same time. I wish they could really, get it going as they've been growing in the system for the past 4 years now. But Kumar Rocker had a really good start, and you got to start somewhere if you want to build some consistency. This was a really good start by him. He's still playing against pro leaguers. He's not playing against the guys in AAA. You can't discredit him that way. So he still was going against major league players and pitched a crazy game. And the starting pitching has once again been amazing, like it has been almost all season.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jack Leiter in the Tuesday game. We always talk about this in the podcast. They get the two steps or the one step forward, two steps back type season so far for the Rangers. And you get the sweep against the White Sox. You've won four straight, I believe, was what they were at was four straight, and then you go into the first game against Kansas City, lose 6-1 like we've seen before, and give Seth Lugo his season high in strikeouts, I believe at 10.
Oh, he was
I,
dealing. Yeah, he was.
yeah.
That game looked like it was over really after that third, fourth inning when Salvador Perez went deep. But, Jack Leiter was really struggling. And that's what happens sometimes with young pitchers. I'm not going to discredit him. Again, he's had a really solid season. You don't want to put this young guy down. Seth Lugo has been a very underrated pitcher in the past 5 seasons. I didn't think he'd really survive that much after his New York Mets career, but he's really found a way to hang in there. And the Royals have a sneaky good starting rotation. And you look at that game in game one, just was letting too many balls over the heart of the plate get by. And Kansas City took advantage of it. Bobby Witt took advantage, Salvador Perez took advantage, and Seth Lugo was dealing. And we see once more these offensive struggles. Now, overall, the offense has picked it up a lot. I've been very pleased the past, week and a half or so. Again, not against the best of competition, but you have to get a look at something. And I was talking about the schedule last week. You got to get some wins against these teams that are not nearly as good in the AL if you want to gain some ground on the Astros in this division, which, by the way, is still wide open. It is not even close to being over. This Texas team is still very much in the running for the division and, a wild card spot. So I like where they're standing right now. I feel much better than I did about a month ago because this offense is looking much better, but that was not exactly the best game one that I was hoping to see against a team, the Royals, that's been reeling. But sometimes it's how baseball goes, as Ron Washington says.
Good little pull from Ron Washington there at
That's
the
how
end.
baseball go.
I mean, Kansas City is not a team that you want to give up 6 runs to. Of course, that
Oh,
what happened in game one was Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr. had some amazing games, which is going to happen from time to time. But you look at the runs scored for the Royals in this season, I think it's actually lower than the
oh
Rangers,
yeah,
which is hard to do.
their offense is terrible as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you don't want to give up 6 runs to the Kansas City team. And I don't think that that's really, I mean, who's starting on Wednesday?
I believe it'll be.
It's,
It's not gonna be DeGrom. I don't
is it
believe so.
Corbin?
Yeah, it's gonna be Patrick. Yeah, because Ryan Hopper was telling me he's gonna go watch the former Nats legend Patrick Corbin, who, by the way, has had a sneaky good season. I cannot believe his stats this year. 4-5. this
Yeah, he's
season with
having
the
a fantastic
yeah,
season.
3.66 ERA, but the problem is he's gonna have to go against possibly a Cy Young contender, one of the best pitchers in the AL for the Royals, Chris Bubich. Oh man, he has been amazing. I got him in
Oh
fantasy, by the
man.
way, but he has been insane. So that's gonna be a nice pitching matchup to look out for in game two.
Yeah, a little softball action from both sides of the mound. But yeah, they don't have a starter announced for the Thursday game. But I mean, I'm gonna put it out right now. I mean, I don't think the Royals can get back to 6 runs for the rest of the series. And of course, we'll see how stupid I look if the Wednesday game happens to be more than 6 runs. But I mean, the Rangers, they have the best pitching staff in the MLB, I think. I think it's safe to say that at this point. From what they've been doing, how they've produced this season, it's been incredible. And they have been, I mean, seriously, all it is getting the bats going. All it is getting the bats going. If you can get the bats going, this team can really catch fire. Really catch fire, like the July sun. I mean, it will be dynamic if they could just get it going. I mean, that's gonna have that goes to everybody in the lineup. Jock Peterson, who's hopefully gonna return soon. I know a lot of fans probably hope he doesn't return soon, to be honest, but I mean, I hope he does. I know that he's a second half player, but Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, the new acquisitions, you got to see them do more. Of course, Berger's been good with the bombs recently, but um, but it also goes to the veterans of the team, the players that have been all-star starters, not even just 2 years ago, players that are really been rendered kind of unreliable in a sense, really. You'd think about players like Jonah Heim, all-star starter in 2023, who has been kind of irrelevant in this offense this season. Adolis Garcia, who's batting around 215 this season, and it's the power, not many, 7 home runs so far. You just gotta hope that this offense eventually gets it going because this pitching for the Rangers just has been incredible.
And, it goes back to the leaders of this team, a guy like Corey Seager, who is not exactly having his
Mhm.
best season as well. But Marcus Simeon has really picked it up the past 2 weeks, and he's riding a 9-game win streak going into this Wednesday game two matchup against the Royals. Good to see him bouncing back after hovering around 170 for the majority of this season.
Oh
So
yeah.
he's been, on a heater these past 2 weeks, and has his offense really helped him out a lot? No, and we've seen a lot of lineup switches between Bruce Bochy and different guys leading off. We've seen Evan Carter lead off a lot as of late. Evan Carter's been balling as well, which I
Oh
love
yeah.
to see. The
Hmm.
guy dealing with injuries these past 2 seasons after winning the World Series. But good to see him bouncing back as well. But if Jake Berger and Jock Peterson can get something going, possibly, I trust Josh Smith. I trust Corey Seager to do their jobs. It really is just like how you said. It's about the offense waking up and possibly helping the pitching staff. Because again, I don't trust this bullpen. I still do not. I don't think they've been put in
Yeah.
a lot of um, you know, high pressure situations to see if they're actually about it. But Robert Garcia, we've seen him struggle against the Astros. We've seen guys like who else? Off the top of my head, I don't want to hold the show up, but there's guys in the late stages of the bullpen that when they are in a one game situation or one run situation, they do kind of fold like a lawn chair. And so when you get in these situations, you got to have the offense possibly get some insurance runs. We don't see that a lot, sadly, from this team this season. It seems like they get a lot of their runs either early in the first 3 innings or in the middle of the game. And there's not a lot of hope if they're down 1 or 2 runs in the eighth or ninth. So if the offense can possibly get going, I think honestly this team could be a second wild card team, possibly win the division. It is still in the running. So they're in a good position in my opinion still.
Confidence that they could be a wild card team at the very least, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Rangers are going to go into after their series against Kansas City that ends today on Thursday. They will go on a week trip, having two different series on the road. The first one being a weekend series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then after that will be the Baltimore Orioles. Both two teams who have struggled this season. This is the time to pounce on the standings, get in that wild card position, and hopefully stay in that position for the rest of the season. At least in the playoffs. I would hope that they would go on and
Oof.
move into winning the division, of course, but um, just get that playoff spot for sure because they've been moving
Mhm.
around it. But we're going to move to the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks going into the NBA draft, having the number one overall pick for the first time ever, moving up
Still
for the
can't believe
first
it.
time ever. Oh, yeah, baby. It still is happening. The Mavericks are going to hopefully have the honor, the draft, Cooper Flag out of the Duke University
Surely.
in a week and a half or so. But that's not the only player that the Mavericks might be aiming to draft. There's been rumors that they are trying to get back into the late first round. Don't know why, but they do think so. I mean, Joe, do you think that they go back into the first round, late first round pick? Do you think they got a target on somebody?
Please no. If they're trying to get Kevin Durant, please no. I don't think it's worth it if that's who they have in mind, or if they think of trying to getting of trying to get Giannis. I don't think it's worth it.
Oh,
Take your
it's
chances with, a generational player in Cooper Flag, who, is being hyped up even more, even by me, a guy who wasn't necessarily a believer in him during his Duke days. But with, like I've said in the past, with this, roster that he gets to play with, he has potential to be a really solid addition for this team, clearly. And they could help mentor him, Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, two Hall of Fame players, to mentor him into being a number one option really by year three, honestly. I think he can be a quick, dominant player for this team as opposed to going to Charlotte or Washington, where I don't think his career would be nearly as dominant. But he has a situation that is, for a rookie, one of the best you could even dream of. So I don't know if you saw the report of his workout, but it sounded like he was all for it. He was more than pleased about how it went, about going with Coach Kidd, about a potential game plan of them selecting him. But that private visit, gives me hope. I think they're all sold in at Cooper Flag. I don't think this whole trading back thing is really legit. Please, I hope it's
Oh
not
no, no,
legit.
no. I'm saying trading back into the first round, like getting the first, not like trading. No, no. I guess I worded that wrong. I'm not trying to talk about that. I'm trying to say like they are trying to get another first round pick.
Oh, if they did that, I mean, who would they give up again? Gafford or something like that? For that to even work?
I
How would that
guess.
happen? I don't
I mean,
know.
that's a big salary, so I don't know.
Again, like, do they have the guys to even have that work? Is the question.
I don't think they
Because,
have the assets.
uh, I
I mean,
really
the
don't
Dallas
know, dude.
Mavericks. They're gonna. I think that the only reason why is because they're worried that they're not gonna be able to get. They're not gonna have the capital to get a good playmaker, and
Hmm.
they can view somebody as a long-term project because obviously it's I think if you were to tell me 2 years ago, I would have said by now Jaden Hardy would be that
Oh,
reliable backup point guard for this
yep.
team at this point, probably maybe even starting.
Yeah.
As somebody who was gonna be, I thought he had all the talent in the world. He was gonna become such a great pure scorer. Um, and that hasn't happened. Jason Kidd doesn't have the best track record with developing young talent, unfortunately. But I mean, Jaden Hardy, not probably not going to be feasible for a starting point guard by the start of the season, and obviously somebody who's drafted late in the first round isn't either. But you're talking about probably that point guard from Florida or something. I mean, that I think. I think they're trying to find a long-term project. I mean, we must not forget about Jalen Brunson, this early second round pick 4 or 5 years ago, 7 years. I mean, it's been a while now. Six
Yeah,
years ago
dude.
now. Seven, no, 7 years. Damn.
Some Mavs fans, yeah, we're getting old, dude. But some Mavs
We're getting
fans,
old.
I don't know if you saw, some people are trying to beg for Colin Sexton. I'm seeing some headlines recently of trying to get
I've
Colin
not seen
Sexton.
that actually. That's interesting.
Proposed three-team trade with
I wouldn't
Utah. I don't
mind
know.
about that at all, actually. I don't know. I feel like
Wouldn't mind it for defensive sake.
I'm
He brings a
open-minded for that.
yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it at all either. Quick little twist to the Dallas Stars. They do have an off season upon them. Florida Panthers went back to back in the Stanley Cup Finals. Canada remains winless in the Lord Stanley just doesn't mess with Canada anymore, I guess. It's
Dang,
just
dude.
it's bad. It's bad. Losing back to back to the same team is awful. I mean, I can see, obviously the Rangers have done it, losing back to back seasons in the finals. The Stars, they've just lost two back to back years against the Oilers in the Western Conference Finals. I want to say not nearly, not as bad as the Stanley Cup Finals, but still pretty bad, and it sucks. It hurts. It still hurts. I'm still angry about the fact that they went down that easily against Edmonton for the second year in a row. Doing that in the finals, man,
And
man.
not just, yeah, a bad performance in the final two games, but Connor McDavid gone quiet. Really the entire series, not a
The
single
Corey
goal, I
Perry,
believe.
the Corey Perry curse is my favorite.
Unbelievable.
I already tweeted about it. It's my
I
favorite
saw that.
sports stat ever at
Yes,
this
that's your
point.
favorite stat
It is
today.
lapping Pete DeBoer's 9-0 in Game Sevens. Corey Perry losing five out of the last six Stanley Cup Finals with four different teams is unbelievably funny. That is hilarious. But anyways, yeah, going into the Stars, I got a little bit off track there. The Dallas Stars, they are expected, rumors coming out, they are expected to re-sign Jamie Benn. There's a lot of mixed feelings about this. I think in the end, it's a good move. I mean, I think a lot of people are overreacting. Jamie Benn deserves to be in a Dallas Stars jersey for as long as he wants to. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about this?
I remember you thinking, man, like you said last week or 2 weeks ago, I think about if it was too much, just let him go. I think he should retire, of course, in the victory green. I think this is a good move, securing his position here. He's been, a staple in Stars hockey for a long time, and even though he's not necessarily as good as he used to be, I think he's probably should retire here at 35. So I think it's a fine move to keep him. I don't know what they're gonna do still, as far as Jim Neal making his moves with a guy like Robertson, and if he elects to keep him or let him go. But I think it's fine to keep a guy like Jamie Benn. He still is, a nice piece for leadership, for veteran leadership, for a young team that's still trying to make their way in the NHL. And I do think this team still has a good future. Do we know who the coaching candidates are for replacing DeBoer yet? Have we heard any rumors or?
I wish I would know. I'm not too knowledgeable on NHL head coaches, to be honest. They
Dang.
really just sit back there and just look at the replay or whatever on the back. It looks like they're just looking down. Every single time they get panned over, they're just,
I always wondered, my dad was asking this during the playoffs, but like, how did the players even hear these coaches like screaming at them, even the assistants who were like
oh, it can't be
behind?
that hard. They're right in their ear.
But like, isn't there the big uh glass that's shielding them? And as they're skating on the other side of, say, the rink, and can
You're
they
just
hear them even from
overthinking
that far? Is it that?
it. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Ah,
I don't. I think you're overthinking it a little bit.
okay,
I
my
feel
bad.
like they. I feel like they can. I feel like it's not that
Not
difficult.
too crazy.
They
I
got a
just feel
shield
like if
for
it's a
sure.
raucous atmosphere, like it's hard to hear a coach who's behind a freaking glass wall or something. But maybe it's not because I'm not, too big of a hockey expert. I'm not a hockey expert at all. Not even compared to you, of course, because you know so much more hockey, and it's not even close. So
Well,
I'll
thank
take your word for
you.
it.
I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know. I'm going back to the Stars. I think it's just crazy that we're even debating the Jason Robertson trade rumors. Um, I think, yeah, it's just going to be really interesting to see how Jamie Benn re-signs, how much he's going to re-sign for. Because you think about the other free agents that are coming up. You got Dodonov, and of course, that's not even the the tip of the iceberg. The real ones that we're looking at are like Mikal Granlund and Matt Duchene, who we don't know if will be wearing the victory green next year, and certainly we know that at least one of them will not be if Jamie Benn takes something that's probably going to be over 3 million or so. So I would hope that he wouldn't,
Sheesh.
but who knows? But anyways, that's gonna do it for episode 72. named and dedicated after Ed Too Tall Jones. That's literally his nickname. That is his.
I can't
We
see.
got to
He's
get
something.
back to these 70s, 80s nicknames, man.
Yeah, they don't
Now we're
have it
trying to be
anymore.
all funny and the
Yeah,
anomaly or whatever.
yeah.
I don't
The
even know.
anomaly. Yeah, it's either acronyms like cat today or it's just some, ironic way to
Yeah.
describe a player that nobody would ever say, like the anomaly. We got to get back to the classics. Like Ant, that's not even like it's a good nickname, but like it's just his name, dude. Like it's just Anthony. So we gotta get back to the creative ones like Too Tall,
Yeah, I mean, look at like Dirk Nowitzki, the German Jesus,
the German Jesus.
Swish 41.
He has so many.
He had some nicknames, and it didn't just come out of his name. So, but anyways, that was episode 72 of the 214 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, we really appreciate it. We wish that we could give you a nice little handshake. I want to shake your hand for liking this episode. But yeah, if you really enjoyed it, you can like, subscribe, share the episode. You can watch us every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time on, did I say Thursday already?
Yeah, Thursday,
Yeah,
11
yeah,
a.m.
yeah.
Central Time. Yeah.
Sorry. I like completely lost my train of thought there. You can watch us every Thursday at 11 a.m. We post weekly on here on or sorry, not on here, on YouTube or Spotify. It depends whatever platform you're watching it. I mean, obviously it probably is YouTube by the recent trends that we've had. But
Hey, who knows? Maybe people are listening to us on like the gym workout or something. Maybe they want to
yeah.
get, a nice
Your morning
lift.
commute or something,
Yeah.
that's what I imagine the Spotify listeners are like.
Yeah. Or like the
Um,
ticket or something.
But yeah, you can follow us there or well on Spotify or YouTube. If you want to get some more in-depth coverage from us, some of our more opinions or anything like that, we post a lot of content on our Twitter/X, our Instagram, and our TikTok. You can follow us there at 214 Sports Show. We would really appreciate all the kinds of interaction that we get with our socials, even the bad ones, even when you guys are calling us casuals. We enjoy it because
Oh, they were tearing us
we like to
up.
hear what you guys are saying. We like to
Yeah.
hear what you guys think. It's not just us talking. We want to hear you talk as well. So,
Yep.
anyways, we really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week for episode 73. Have a great rest of your week.